Altitude 27,300 feet and falling. The air over Bremen, Germany, is a frozen solid block of 60-degree cold. Inside the fractured plexiglass nose of the B-17F, ye olde pub, Second Lieutenant Charlie Brown, 21 years old, fights the controls. His hands, even in their thick gloves, are numb, welded to a yoke that shudders with a violence that seems alive. This is his first mission as aircraft commander, his first time in the left seat on a real sortie, and it is a catastrophic, unmitigated failure. The 379th Bomb Group is far above him, a distant constellation of silver specks turning for home. He is alone. The air is black, not with clouds but with flak. The German 88mm batteries on the ground have created a black picket fence of explosions, a sky so thick with shrapnel you could walk on it, as the veterans say. Brown can smell the cordite even through his oxygen mask. It smells like ozone and sulfur, a demonic industrial smell that mixes with the scent of leaking hydraulic fluid and hot oil from his own dying aircraft. The number 2 engine is on fire, its propeller feathered. The number 4 engine is a sputtering, damaged mess, vibrating the entire airframe with bone-jarring intensity. His instrument panel is a graveyard of dead needles. The oxygen system is gone. The electrical system is gone. The hydraulics are bleeding out. Brown is an engineer, or was, in his training. He understands the physics of flight, the theory of lift, the intricate web of wires and pipes that is supposed to keep this 30-ton fortress in the air. That theory is now a joke. This is no longer engineering, this is survival. He is flying a brick, a 62,000-pound brick that is falling through the most heavily defended airspace on Earth. Below him is the Focke-Wulf 190 factory, the very target they just failed to hit. Above him, he knows, are the wolves, the Luftwaffe, the German fighters who feed on stragglers like him. A single red warning light glows on his panel. It is a beacon of his failure, a testament to the fact that all the theory in the world means nothing when the sky is trying to kill you. He wrestles the plane, the shudders running up his arms and into his teeth. His co-pilot, Pinky Luke, is slumped forward, his head grazed. In the back, the situation is unknown, but the silence on the intercom is worse than screams. He is flying on pure instinct, a 21-year-old trying to outrun a nation's air force. The B-17 drops another 1,000 feet, groaning as if in physical pain. It is a dying animal, and the only question left is whether it will hit the ground or the sea first. The immediate problem is the ground. The ultimate problem is the group of small, fast-moving dots he sees approaching from 6 o'clock high. The wolves are here. The intercom, miraculously finding a spark of life, crackles. Bandits tail, 6 o'clock high. They're everywhere. The voice is that of the tail gunner, Sergeant Hugh Eckenrode. It is the last time Brown will ever hear it. The B-17, already a wreck, is now set upon by a swarm of Focke-Wulf 190s and Messerschmitt 109s. For 10 minutes, ye old pub endures an onslaught that defies belief. 20mm cannon shells, designed to tear wings off, rip through the thin aluminum skin. They sound like a pneumatic hammer, a rapid, deafening thud, 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 thud that shakes the very soul. The plexiglass nose cone shatters completely, and the 60-degree wind bursts into the cockpit like a solid wall of ice. Brown loses consciousness. The combination of hypoxia, the brutal cold, and the sheer terror of the attack is too much. The B-17, its last semblance of control gone, tips over and begins a spiral towards the earth. He is jolted awake by the screaming wind and the frantic pulls of his co-pilot, who has come to. They are at 3,000 feet. They pull back on the yokes with all their strength. The plane responds sluggishly, painfully, like a man being woken from a coma. It levels out. They are still flying, but they are no longer an aircraft. They are a collection of holes held together by sheer luck. The fighters are gone, assuming their work was done. Brown and his crew are left in an impossible situation. The intercom reports the damage, and the news is grim. Sighty start. Sergeant Eckenrode, the tail gunner, has been a victim of the attack. Sight 3:15. Sight start. He did not survive the initial pass. Sight 15. Sight start. Others in the crew are struggling with their wounds. Fighting the pain in the freezing air, Site 4-13-14. The B-17 is a flying sieve. Brown can see the ground through the holes in the floor of his cockpit. They are alone, crippled, deep inside enemy territory, and bleeding. And then a new shape appears. A single Messerschmitt Bf-109 climbing fast, its nose painted yellow, signifying an elite unit. It is not attacking, it is pulling up, slowly, alongside the cockpit. What Brown didn't know was that this encounter would not be defined by the enemies who attacked, but by the one who did not. This single, terrible day is not an anomaly. It is the core experience of the combined bomber offensive in late 1943. The 8th Air Force is engaged in a brutal war of attrition, flying unescorted daylight bombing missions deep into Germany. The strategic goal to destroy the Third Reich's industrial capacity. The target for today, Mission 115, is the Focke-Wulf aircraft plant in Bremen, a vital target, and for that reason, one of the most heavily defended. War Office memos from the period read like cold arithmetic. Losses for the 8th Air Force are currently tracking at 7% per sortie, one report states. This rate is deemed unsustainable for long-term strategic operations. That 7% figure is a sterile number on a page. The reality is what the crews faced on Black Thursday, October 14, 1943, on the raid against the Schweinfurt ball-bearing plants. Of the 291 B-17s sent, 60 were lost. Another 17 were damaged so badly they were scrapped. Over 600 men were missing or killed in a single afternoon. That was a 26% loss rate. The Luftwaffe's Jagdgeschwader, or fighter wings, like JG-1, JG-11, and the elite JG-27, have become ruthlessly effective. They have learned to wait until the bombers are at their most vulnerable, low on fuel, crews exhausted, formations broken, and then attack en masse. The technical problem is simple: range. The American B-17 Flying Fortress is a marvel of engineering, a heavy bomber that can, in theory, defend itself with 13 50-caliber machine guns. But it is not a fighter. The Allied escorts, the P-47 Thunderbolts, do not have the fuel capacity to follow the bombers all the way to targets like Bremen and back. There is a point of no return, a line drawn over the North Sea where the little friends must turn back. And at that exact moment, the German ground controllers vector their fighters. For the bomber crews, it is a daily, terrifying gauntlet. The B-17's only defense is the combat box formation, a staggered tight grouping of aircraft designed to provide overlapping fields of fire. But when a plane is damaged by flak, like ye old pub and falls out of formation, it is a straggler, and a straggler's life expectancy is measured in minutes. The experts at 8th Air Force Headquarters in High Wycombe know this. They are in a desperate race. The P-51 Mustang, with its revolutionary Merlin engine and long-range drop tanks, is in production, but it is not yet available in numbers. Until it is, the B-17 crews are, in a grim sense, bait. They are being sacrificed to force the Luftwaffe into a fight, to bleed the German fighter arm dry so that the skies can be cleared for the inevitable invasion of Europe. The crews know this too, even if it is unspoken. They are flying missions with a casualty rate higher than the infantry at Guadalcanal. The numbers are a death sentence. The data on the page translates to a human cost that is almost unimaginable. A 10% loss rate does not mean a 10% chance of being hit. It means 10 men in a crew, 10 empty bunks in a Nissen hut at RAF Nuthampstead, 10 sets of personal effects to be gathered and sent home. It means 100 men from the bomb group are gone wound tonight. The crews live with this math. They are young men, most of them like Brown, barely out of their teens. They develop the 1,000-yard stare, a disconnected, hollow look. They use gallows humor at the pre-dawn briefings, joking about who will get their ration of whiskey when they don't return. But underneath, there is a deep, cold dread. The physical cost is just as severe. The bombers are not pressurized or heated. At 28,000 feet, the ambient temperature is 60 degrees below zero. Frostbite is a constant enemy. A man who removes his glove for 30 seconds to clear a jammed machine gun will lose his fingers. The oxygen masks are claustrophobic, the lines often freezing. Hypoxia, a lack of oxygen to the brain, is a silent killer. It brings on a pleasant, sleepy euphoria, a dangerous bliss that can lead a man to simply drift away, to take off his mask and step out of the waist gunner's window, believing he is going for a walk. The flak is not just an explosion, it is a physical, concussive force that pummels the planes and the men inside, leaving them deafened, nauseous, and trembling with shell shock. They fly for 10 hours in this state, a state of constant, high-alert, frozen terror. They call their 25-mission tour the mathematical impossibility, the statistical probability of surviving 25 missions when the loss rate is so high trends towards zero. Experts in aerial combat, both Allied and German, agreed on one thing. A lone, crippled, unescorted B-17 deep inside the Reich had a survival chance of nil. It was a technical impossibility. It couldn't be done. These stories are more than just history. They are lessons in human endurance. If you find value in these detailed reconstructions of forgotten events, we hope you'll follow our work. On the ground, at a Luftwaffe airfield near Bremen, Oberleutnant Franz Stiegler, 29 years old, shoves a cigarette into his mouth and curses the cold. He has just landed his Messerschmitt Bf 109G6. His tanks are dry, his ammunition spent. He is a Jagdflieger, a fighter pilot, and a highly successful one. He is a veteran of the skies over North Africa, Sicily, and now the defense of the Reich. He has 27 Abschüsse, or victories, to his name. He is one victory away from receiving the Ritterkreuz mit Eichenlaub, the Knight's Cross with oak leaves, one of Germany's highest military honors. He is tired, he is cold, and he has just heard the bombers passing overhead. Stiegler is not a wide-eyed fanatic. He is a professional soldier, a former airline pilot from Bavaria. His view of the war is complicated, darkened by personal loss. His older brother August, also a Luftwaffe pilot, was killed in the early days of the war. That loss has tempered him. He is not driven by hatred but by a sense of duty, and more importantly by a code. This code was drilled into him by his first squadron commander, Gustav Rödel, a veteran of the First World War. Rödel had been clear, "You are fighter pilots, not butchers. You fight with chivalry. If I ever see or hear of one of you shooting a man in a parachute, I will fly up and shoot you down myself." This lesson has stuck with Stiegler. For him, war is a professional contest, a duel between equals. It is not murder. He fights by a set of unwritten rules, rules of honor that seem to belong to a previous century. Now as he stands on the frozen tarmac, a mechanic runs to him. "Oberleutnant, there is a single fortress flying low heading for the coast. It's crippled." Stiegler's eyes flick up. He can see it, a dark, smoking shape limping across the sky. This is a gift, an easy 28th kill. The oak leaves right there for the taking. He doesn't have to go. His duty for the day is done, but the temptation is too much. He waves to his ground crew. "Refuel, rearm. Only the cannons." He doesn't need the machine guns. A few 20mm cannon shells will be enough. His Bf 109 is a thoroughbred, a sleek, powerful interceptor, the backbone of the Luftwaffe. Its Daimler-Benz 605 engine roars to life. Stiegler climbs at full power, his eyes locked on the straggler. He rockets through the low clouds, emerging behind and below the bomber. In its 6 o'clock low blind spot, he moves his thumb to the Schalter, the electric trigger for his 20mm cannons. This is a Totschuss, a dead shot. He can't miss. He's done this 27 times before. He is seconds away from his 28th kill. He is seconds away from the oak leaves. He closes the distance, 100 meters, 50 meters. His finger tightens on the trigger. And then he hesitates. Something is wrong. He's so close he can see the tail of the B-17. It's not just damaged, it's gone. The entire tail gun position is shredded, a mangled wreck of aluminum and plexiglass. He can see the tail gunner, slumped over his 50 caliber guns, his fleece-lined jacket dark with a stain that isn't oil. Sight start. He did not survive the previous attack, sight 315. Stiegler's crazy idea is born in this instant. He doesn't fire. Instead, he does something no fighter pilot should ever do. He pulls past the tail. He comes up alongside the bomber's wing. He is close enough to read the name on the nose. Ye Old Pub. He is close enough to see the faces of the crew through the gaping holes in the fuselage. Sight start. He sees men, some clearly wounded, tending to their comrades, their faces masks of terror and disbelief. Sight 414. He flies past the waist gunner's window, past the shattered radio room, until he is level with the cockpit. He looks across the 20 feet of empty air, and he sees Second Lieutenant Charlie Brown, a 21-year-old kid, fighting the controls, his eyes wide with a terror so profound it transcends nationality. Stigler looks at this plane, this flying Seven, and he knows. His commander's words come back to him. You don't shoot a man in a parachute. In Stigler's mind, this is a parachute. This is not a warplane, it is a hearse. These men are already dead. They just don't know it. To shoot them down would be murder. It would violate the code. His internal conflict is a raging fire. This is the enemy. They bombed Bremen. They killed civilians, my brother. My duty is to destroy them. But the other voice, the voice of Rödel, the voice of his own conscience, is stronger. No, not this one. Not like this. His decision is made. He will act alone, and he will risk his own life to do it. The secret test is not to destroy the bomber, but to save it. This is a forbidden experiment in mercy. Stigler's new ally is his enemy. His new mission is to get this American bomber, this symbol of destruction, safely out of Germany. The immediate problem is not the bomber's failing engines. It is the German flak batteries lining the coast just a few miles ahead. They are alert, they are accurate, and they will obliterate this slow, low-flying target. Stigler knows this. He has to formulate a plan in seconds. He stays close on the B-17's left wingtip. He is hiding. The American bomber in plain sight. He is using his own aircraft, his Messerschmitt, as a shield. The flak gunners on the ground are trained to identify aircraft. They will see the B-17, but they will also see the Bf-109, a German Hero's plane flying right next to it. They will hesitate. They won't risk shooting down one of their own aces. It's a gamble of staggering audacity. Inside the B-17, Brown and his crew are in a state of shock. The German plane isn't shooting. He's flying with them. What is he doing? Brown says, his voice hoarse. Is he toying with us? Is he out of ammo? Stigler in his cockpit can see their confusion. He tries to communicate. He points down emphatically. Land! Land the plane! He is gesturing for them to land at the German airfield they just passed. He can guarantee their safety. They will be prisoners, but they will be alive. Brown, terrified and confused, just shakes his head. We can't. We can't. Stigler tries again. He points north towards the sea, then changes his gesture, pointing to the northeast. Sweden, he is trying to say. Go to Sweden, it's neutral. It's closer than England. You will be interned, but you will be safe. Brown still doesn't understand. He is a young pilot from West Virginia. His only mission is to get his men home or die trying. He just keeps flying straight towards the coast, towards the flak batteries, towards certain death. Stigler is frustrated, but he doesn't leave. He holds his position, a guardian shark, as the flat, frozen landscape of northern Germany slides by beneath them. The tension is unbearable. Every second, Stigler is risking a court-martial. Every second, Brown is risking annihilation. The flak zone, a line on a map, but in reality, a gauntlet of 18 mm and 105 mm guns. The failure of Brown to understand Stigler's gestures has forced this final desperate test. They are flying directly into the heart of the coastal air defenses. A German flak regiment commander on the ground, his binoculars trained on the sky, sees the impossible. He barks an order to his battery. Target 1B-17, range 10, 00 meters, altitude 100 meters, prepare to. He stops. He adjusts the focus. Wait, halten Sie, hold fire, there is a 109 on his wing. Unseer, one of ours, hold your fire, do not engage. The breakthrough. Stigler's gamble has worked. The German guns remain silent. They fly over the coast, over the concrete bunkers and the radar arrays, and the B-17 is untouched. Brown, in his cockpit, feels a wave of awe and total disbelief. The flak isn't firing. The German plane saved them. They are over the icy grey water of the North Sea. The test is complete. The success is a few more minutes of life for the crew of Ye Old Pub. Franz Stigler has done all he can. He has escorted his enemy out of his own country. His duty to his conscience is fulfilled. He pulls his Bf 109 a little closer, so he is absolutely certain the American pilot can see him. He looks across the void, at the 21-year-old he has just saved. He sees the relief, the confusion, the dawning understanding. Stigler raises his gloved hand. He gives Charlie Brown a slow, formal military salute, a gesture of respect, a gesture of farewell. Then he peels his fighter away, banking sharply back towards Germany, back towards the war, his duty to his high command awaiting him. Brown and his crew are left alone with 250 miles of open sea and the impossible, secret story of their survival. At RAF Nut Hampstead, hours later, the debriefing room is thick with smoke, the smell of wet wool and the electric tension of survival. Brown and his co-pilot, Pinky Luke, are wrapped in blankets, mugs of coffee laced with whiskey shaking in their hands. Ye Old Pub somehow made the crossing, landing with a crash at their home base, the plane so damaged it would never fly again. The intelligence officer, a man with tired eyes, runs through his checklist. Engines, flak damage, crew status. He gets to the main event. And the fighter attacks. Let's go over that again. Lieutenant. Brown takes a deep breath. Sir, we were attacked by at least a dozen. They took out Eckenrode. We were done for. The officer nods, writing, Go on. Brown hesitates. This is the moment. And then, sir, a 109 came up. A single 109, yellow nose. The officer's pen stops. And? Brown looks at Luke, who nods. Sir, he didn't shoot. He escorted us. The room, filled with the low murmur of other crews debriefing, goes quiet. The officer looks up. What did you say, Lieutenant? Brown's voice is stronger now. He escorted us, sir. He flew on our wing. He tried to get me to land. When I wouldn't, he stayed with us. He flew us through the coastal flak. They didn't fire on us, sir, because he was there. He saved us. Then he saluted me and he left. There is a long, heavy silence. The intelligence officer puts his pen down. He stares at Brown, not with disbelief, but with a cold, hard pragmatism. Lieutenant, he says, his voice low. That's a hell of a story, a truly incredible story. And I believe you. But it is not a story that is going into this report. Brown is stunned. But, sir, it's the truth. The truth, the officer says, leaning in, is that you were damaged by flak and you made it home. The truth is that we are in a war, a total war, and we cannot have our crews thinking there is a good German out there. We cannot have them hesitating for 1 second to pull that trigger. It's bad for morale, do you understand me? This is the confrontation, this is the institutional clash. Brown's defense of his work, his experience, is met with the wall of need to know. The officer closes his notebook. You will not repeat this story to anyone, not your crewmates, not your family, nobody. File it under luck and miracle. You're dismissed. The story is ordered to be buried. While Charlie Brown is being officially silenced in England, Franz Stigler's real test begins. He lands his Bf 109 back at his airfield. He walks into the Geschwader operations room. His commander, seeing him, beams. Stigler, you went up for the straggler. Excellent. Did you get him? That's your 28th, isn't it? The oak leaves are yours. Stigler stands there, the warmth of the stove hitting his cold face. This is his moment of combat. It is not against a B-17. It is against his own high command, his own career, his own life. He can tell the truth. I found the bomber, but it was defenseless, so I let it go. He would be arrested, taken to Berlin, and shot for treason. Or he can lie. He has just committed an act of profound loyalty to his own code, and to do so he must now commit an act of disloyalty to his command. He pauses, the weight of the salute, the image of Brown's terrified face settling on him. He looks his commander in the eye. No, Herr Major, Stigler says, his voice flat. It was gone. It was too low. It dropped into the clouds over the sea. I lost it. The commander claps him on the shoulder, disappointed but understanding. Ah, bad luck. Don't worry, Franz. You'll get him tomorrow. Stigler just nods. the lie a bitter taste in his mouth. He has saved his own mission, the mission of conscience, but the impact is his alone. He must carry the secret, just as Brown must. He has passed his own moral test, but he must never speak of it. He goes on to fly over 100 more missions, including in the Me-262 jet fighter. He is wounded. He sees the war to its bitter end, but he never, ever tells anyone what happened on December 20th, 1943. The war ends. Ye Old Pub is scrapped, its parts salvaged. Brown's crew is split up, assigned to other planes. Brown himself, shaken but alive, completes his 25-mission tour. He returns to the United States, goes to college, gets a job and raises a family. He tries to forget the war, but the image of the German pilot's salute haunts his dreams. He tells no one. He was ordered not to. Franz Stiegler ends the war with 28 official victories. He never got the 29th. After the war, with Germany in ruins, he finds it impossible to build a life. He immigrates to Canada, settling in Vancouver, British Columbia. He becomes a successful businessman. He, too, tells no one. The story is a secret, shared by two men who live 400 miles apart. Decades pass. The Cold War rises and falls. It is the late 1980s. Charlie Brown is retired. He is at a bomb group reunion, and the memories come flooding back. He has to know. Was he real? Did it really happen? Or was it just a hypoxic hallucination, a story he told himself to cope with the trauma? He begins a search. It is a needle in a haystack. He writes to archives, he attends pilot reunions. Finally, he places an ad in a newsletter for former Luftwaffe pilots. I am looking for the German pilot who, on December 20th, 1943, saved my life and the life of my crew. He escorted our B-17 to the North Sea. In Vancouver, Franz Stiegler picks up the newsletter. He sees the ad. His heart stops. After more than 40 years of silence, his secret has found him. He writes a letter. I was that man. A phone call is arranged. Brown, in Florida, hears a voice with a German accent. Hello, Charlie. I've been waiting to hear from you. In 1990, the two men meet. They meet in a hotel lobby in Florida. Two old men, former enemies, one a B-17 pilot, the other a Messerschmitt ace. They look at each other. They say nothing. They simply fall into each other's arms and weep. They would remain as close as brothers until their deaths, fishing together, their families intertwined. The legacy of that day was not one of war, but of a friendship that defied it. This is not simply a story of war, it is a story about ethics, a lesson that finds its parallels in every field of human endeavor. It is the story of the doctor in an emergency room who must treat the man who just attacked him. It is the story of the engineer who refuses to sign off on a flawed design, even when pressured by his superiors. It is the story of the aid worker who crosses a border to help a supposed enemy. It is the story of that precise, terrifying moment when a human being must choose between the orders they were given and the conscience that defines them. The universal truth of this event is that honor is not about blind obedience. It is about knowing which orders to follow and which, in the name of a higher law, to defy. Franz Stiegler did not see a B-17. He did not see an American. He saw a man in a parachute. He saw a human being and he acted. The B-17 is long since turned to dust. The Messerschmitt is a silent piece in a museum. The Nissen huts of RAF Nuthampstead are gone. But the salute, that silent, impossible gesture of respect between two enemies over the frozen North Sea, remains. It echoes, a testament to the fact that even in the heart of total war, our humanity can and must endure. Every great idea begins as an act of defiance against impossibility. This was an act of defiance against a different kind of impossibility, the impossibility of connection in a world determined to tear itself apart. What impossible ideas do you think could change the world? In the end, what saves us is not the machine or the flag or the mission, it is the man.